So our topic is about the motivation. First, motivation it is what pushes us to initiate, continue and complete tasks whether it's simple or complex. Motivation is not a simple content because people are not alike in characteristic and so they are motivated differently. As Herbert A. Simon observes, in most human behavior, the relation between motives and action is not simple. It is mediated by a whole chain of events and surrounding conditions. Means that human behavior isn't a straightforward link between motives and action. Instead, it's a complex process influenced by a series of events and circumstances. The complexity of motivation is evident in the number of ways it is defined by authors. For example, Michael G. Jusius considered it as the act of stimulating someone or oneself to take a desired course of action. On the other hand, Paul Pigers and Charles A. Myers view it as any factor that brings out a change in behavior regardless of whether the stimulus comes from inside an individual or from outside, as an external incentive or pressure. Meaning, Michael defines motivation as the act of encouraging a desired action, while Paul Pigers and Charles see it as any factor causing behavioral change, regardless of whether the influence is internal or external. So, motivating people to perform the business of government is a major problem of public administrator. But a public administrator should be adept in human motivation. He should be able to motivate his people to work at their peak. So there are several aspects of motivation which link the individual with the organization, and those will be discussed in this chapter. First is the need hierarchy concept. Second, motivation hygiene concept. Third, achievement motivation concept. Four, motivational approach to management. 5. Other motivational studies, and last is motivational practice in government service. We have first the need hierarchy concept. So Abraham H. Maslow, an American psychologist, has developed a theory about human motivation. He theorized the existence of a needs hierarchy. He clarifies human needs into 5 categories. Those are the psychological, safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization. Psychological needs, this is the most important, like the food and the other necessary things for survival. Then, the need for safety from danger, threat, and deprivation. And love, social needs for association with one's fellows for friendship and love. Esteem, the need for self-respect, self-esteem, respect of one's fellows and status. Last is the self-actualization, the need for self-fulfillment through the development of powers and skills, and a chance to use creativity. This figure is called the hierarchy of needs, and it shows a model depicting human needs arranged in a hierarchical pyramid, starting from basic psychological needs at the bottom, processing to self-actualization at the top. So these needs are related to each other and arranged in a hierarchy of potency. It shows that people won't be interested in power, prestige, and status unless his psychological needs for survival is fulfilled. And then, upon satisfying his basic psychological and safety requirements, only then he seeks to fulfill higher needs, starting with the need to belong and culminating in self-actualization. Otherwise, one can't develop his full human potential. Although high-level needs seem to be almost universal, an individual's motivational pattern is somewhat different from that of another. However, they have one characteristic in common. All of them have a need to feel competent in their respective undertakings. As Maslow explained it, Motives in the adult are highly complex and no single motive affects behavior. Rather, a number of motives may be in operation at the same time. Second, there exists a hierarchy needs so that in general, lower level needs must be at least partially satisfied before a higher level need is satisfied. Number 3, a satisfied needs is not a motivator. In other words, when a need is satisfied, another emerges to take its place so that in a sense, an individual always remains a wanting being. Last, the higher level needs can be satisfied in many more different ways than the lower level needs. Meaning, people are motivated by many things at once, and they need to fulfill basic needs before they can focus on more advanced ones. Once a need is met, another takes its place, so people are always striving for something. Aside from that, Maslow's theory hasn't been accepted by everyone, but despite of criticism, it contributed to the theoretical framework for organization theory. In fact, his theory or his concept was used by several researchers in human behavior. Some of these researchers are Herzberg, McGregor, and Likert. And now let us move on to the second concept, which is the motivation hygiene concept. The motivation hygiene or MH theory was developed in the 1960s by Frederick Herzberg, an American psychologist. In his theory, he argues that job satisfaction and job dissatisfactions are separate dimensions. So, the results of Herzberg's study seem to point two distinct set of factors. First is factors relating primarily to job satisfaction, and second is the factors relating primarily to job dissatisfaction. So, the job satisfaction, which is the first factor, is influenced by the satisfiers, which create a long-term positive feelings, and the dissatisfiers, which is the second factor, cause short-term negative feelings, with the latter having a stronger impact. Herberg's motivators emphasize achievement. He recognized achievement as a critical factor for long-run job satisfaction. As such, it is closely related to Maslow's need hierarchy model. Aside from that, his study shows the need for one to be aware of what factors are motivators and which are not, and some factors that lead employees to feel good about their work. Herberg's study confirmed that hypothesis that factors of job content or the satisfiers can stimulate high motivation and increase productivity. Similarly, there are other factors whose absence leads to dissatisfaction, but whose presence does not motivate but merely prevents dissatisfaction. Meaning, Herberg's study supported the idea that certain job factors or the satisfier boost motivations and productivity, while others, the dissatisfiers, only prevent dissatisfaction if present, but their absence doesn't necessarily increase motivation. However, this theory has faced criticism and conflicting evidence. The next concept, which is the achievement motivation concept, will be discussed by the next presenter.